Okay. How exciting. You gonna come cuddle, Rug? Both dogs, you guys can come cuddle. Come on. Okay. Everybody, everybody in, it's a family affair.
I guess so.
Okay, so I wanted to just start off this podcast. Welcome to the very first podcast. We don't even have a name for it yet. We haven't even talked about that yet.
Nope.
The father-daughter Christian duo. Maybe that's what we go with. This is Abel. This is Ruger. But I basically just wanted to start off with the fact that I'm Drea Hespin. This is John Hespin. We live in Wyoming.
Morning.
And there has never been an inkling of wanting to start a podcast in my soul ever before. And
I'm with you.
and there's something that Dad and I have been doing lately, and we've been traveling over to Hewlett to go see Bruce, to take him to lunch, the senior center, Taco Tuesday. It's everything that everybody could dream of.
Bruce being the neighbor from our ranch up there, he's 94. He's lost his wife. He can't see well anymore, so he can't drive. So we go up to get him out of the house, give him things to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
That's
thank
Bruce.
you. Yes, that is Bruce. So we've been making those trips regularly, and we just have had the best conversations. And it's incredible because here I am, 32.
67.
Oh, my guess was right earlier. Okay, so 32, 67, and it has just been so incredible, pretty surreal, actually, the fact that there are some similarities to our stories. There's, things that Dad learns that I haven't learned, or, honestly, there's things I learned that you learned from me.
Yep.
At least you've told me that, unless you were just, blowing air up my skirt.
Nope.
But here we were on our way back from Hewlett, and it was a beautiful, sunshiny day, and I just felt like, it honestly felt like it came from inside the window, and I all of a sudden looked over at Dad, and I said, I have never thought about this before. I never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but what I'm about to say, I don't want you to initially say no. I want you to think about it and let me know how you feel.
No.
And I told him, I said, I think we need to start a podcast on what we talk about here. And Dad's initial reaction was,
No.
and why?
I just have never been one for having a lot of words or needing to communicate a lot. I grew up in a lifestyle that you were mainly alone most of the time, so you didn't have a lot of people around. And it was a safe place to be when you were alone. You couldn't get in trouble, you weren't having to worry about being disciplined, that sort of thing. So alone was good. And now, podcast.
What? Do you even know what one is?
Not really.
I didn't know if you did or not. But needless to say, starting a podcast, especially on what we talk about in a very safe space, is very scary. But I can tell you that I truly feel like is definitely something that God laid on my heart. And it was apparent to me when I had talked to one of my really good friends, Sadie. She inspires me so much with just her knowledge of the Bible and God. And I was talking to her one day and telling her of this possible opportunity that my dad might start a podcast with me on this subject, and why this was so crazy to me that this was even something I was excited about. And then I was like, well, maybe if Dad doesn't want to do it, like Sadie could do this with me. And I called up my dad, and I could tell he wasn't having one of the best days, but I was like, what are your thoughts on this? And I'm all hyped up on Mountain Dew. And he was like, I'm still praying about it. Not so sure. I mean, it's been weeks since I had said anything. And I was like, well, maybe this is something Sadie and I could start. When you're comfortable, we could bring you on. And he was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But I go about my day. I go to get ready. And there was something telling me, I believe God telling me, that this isn't just an ordinary podcast. This is not just a podcast to start a podcast. He has a plan for it. And I also was told that day that if it wasn't my dad, it was nobody. And I texted him and I said, there's no obligations here.
No pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure.
But if it's not you, it's no one, because you know what? I don't know, the purpose of what this is going to be, but I just also feel that it's going to touch many hearts in many different ways. And that's what brought us here today.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that I'm doing this, is because all of the years that I have struggled with the things I've struggled with, and so often I felt like I was the only person who could be in this position, that I was so much an idiot or so evil or so weak that no one else could be as bad as me. And I've come to the realization that the enemy wants us to be in that position where we believe we're all alone and that we're terrible, and so we don't share with anyone and we don't talk about it, and that way he can destroy us individually, where he can't necessarily destroy us corporately. And when you speak about that still small voice, which Moses and Elijah and the Bible talks about, in that it is the small voice that whispers in your ear, this is the way, walk in it, then it is the way God communicates with us. So I just thought, you know what, if it's just one thing, one topic, if one person can be helped and understand that God is greater than all of our enemies and that there is hope, then that's worth it.